Let me start off by saying that freelancing is not for everybody. But for those of us who choose to pursue a career as a freelancer, I think it holds many opportunities, time flexibility, being able to do the work that you love, to be able to choose who you work for. So if you're considering moving into a more freelance type of career, whether it's freelance writing, whether it's a freelance graphic design, etc., then this is the video for you. I have recently celebrated my 1 year of freelance writing, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what I learned in this year and hopefully help you avoid some mistakes that I made. So let's just get into it, and I'll explain a little bit more about who I am and what I do towards the middle of the video, but I wanted to start by giving you some solid information that you can use. And the first is, before you move into a freelance type of career, if you're currently working a 9-to-5 right now, then the most important thing that I can tell you is to start saving money, to start putting money away for your freelance business that you want to do, especially if you want to do it full time. So putting away money can look a little bit different depending on your long-term goals. Sometimes you need startup capital. So whether you want to get into to YouTubing or freelance writing or videography or whatever it is that you want to do freelance, eventually, depending on the career, might be some startup cost. Freelance writing for myself, luckily, I have everything that I needed to get started in freelance writing. But however, some things that are beneficial is like taking extra courses, getting different certifications, and that takes money. So, and also too, freelance writing, it's a great system and you can make a good amount of money with it, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get the ball rolling. A lot of people, you see these success stories of freelancers, they quit their job and then now they're making 6 figures, and that is all possible, but 99.9% of the time that does not happen right away. So it is a very smart move, and it will save you a lot of time and stress along the line, is to put away some money before you jump full into freelancing as a full-time career. So the second piece of advice that had really helped me, and it was a little bit of a struggle. It was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning, but build your network of people, whether it's other writers or other creatives. I think it's really beneficial to have a network of people, not only just for the mental relief of it, of going to someone who understands what this lifestyle is like, but also resources, also learning opportunities. You can learn from one another. You can, maybe one freelancer has too much work that they can't take on, so they refer you to their clients. But having a strong network is a really important resource when freelancing, because freelancing you mostly do independently. And if you have come from a work environment where you're used to coworkers or used to kind of having that team dynamic, not to say that you can't work on a team as a freelancer, but most of the time you're going to be working by yourself. So having a network, it can be beneficial both professionally and personally, mentally. So I highly suggest going on LinkedIn and putting your career into the search button and really just adding people and reaching out and saying, hey, I'm just starting this freelance journey. I'd love to grow my network, get to know you, etc. So don't be afraid to reach out to people. Another really important thing that I learned in this year of freelancing, so I started off as a teacher. I had been a teacher for most of my career, most of my adult life. I have been in, whether it was preschool teaching or teaching elementary school. When I moved to Spain, I was teaching English. When I moved to Panama too, I was teaching English as a second language. So teaching was a really big part of my identity. And I had, over this past year, I started to slowly shed that identity and move into a full-time freelance writer. And that was really scary for me, because again, like, being a teacher was just who I was. It was a part of who I am, and it still will always be a part of who I am, but I just really felt called to pursue this other career, and writing has been something that I love doing. I've loved doing for all of my life. So one of the biggest adjustments, I think that can be challenging for people that are kind of used to working for an employer and having to work for yourself, is that you have to almost constantly or on a regular basis, depending on what consistency can look like for you, you have to market yourself. You have to sell yourself. I think that's probably one of the most uncomfortable things for people when they step into this role of being able to say, like, I have XYZ skills and they can benefit you by doing X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is. You have to not only be able to say that, like, oh, I'm a freelance writer, but to say why you are good at what you do. What is it that you bring to the table that maybe not a lot of other people do? You really have to pay attention to what makes you special, what makes you unique. And it can be something simple as just being able to communicate effectively, or meet deadlines, or whatever it is that you want to do. Make sure you identify what it is that makes you unique, and then shout that to the world and constantly be reaching out to people, blast it on your social media, really and truly, because that's the thing about freelance writing, or just freelancing in general, is you have this great product or service to sell, but no one's going to buy from you if they don't know that you're selling it. So it might be feeling a little uncomfortable at first, but selling is a really big part of freelancing, and that's definitely something that I continue to learn and practice through this journey. The next really important thing that I learned in my freelancing career, or this last year, is having a positive mindset. And I know that can kind of sound like, okay, yes, mindset. We're always talking about, hear people throwing out the word abundant mindset, etc. But it's really important, because I was often left alone with my thoughts. So after I would send out a pitch, after I would, apply for a certain position and get rejected, the first couple of times I brushed it off, but after numerous times, it was hard. I would doubt myself. I would think that, like, maybe I wasn't cut out for this. Maybe I should just go back and start teaching English. Not that there would be anything wrong with that if I did. But I really, even too, when I did get work, when I was contracted to work for someone, there was still a lot of doubt and a lot of imposter syndrome, and I would get feedback from my work, and sometimes it wasn't good enough. I can't say that even though I tried hard, not every client that I've worked with has been happy with my work. But on the other side, there have been companies that have been really happy with my work and have offered me other opportunities. For example, I started writing for Clever Girl Finance, and then that led me to writing to their sister site, Clever Girl Author, and also moving up and becoming an assistant editor and working a lot with SEO. So now I know so much more about SEO, and I've learned so much from just being with this client and working with this company. And so that's kind of where that positive mindset comes in, of just reminding yourself that there's always room to grow and to focus more on the positive, more on the clients that really like the work that you're doing, and just learn from the ones that don't. Just because there's no fault that needs to be given, there's no blame that needs to be given. If it's sometimes you work for a client and it's just not a match, and that's okay. You learn from it. If you made your mistakes, learn from it. And that's also the great thing about freelance writing. If you end up with a bad experience working with a client, or you just don't like them, you can choose not to work for them in the future. If you like this video, or if you're finding it helpful, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to learn more about my freelance writing journey. I've mentioned on other videos, I am also, along with a freelance writer, I am also a coach. I've been living abroad for the past 5 years, and which has led me to this path of freelance writing. And so really on my channel you kind of get a little bit of everything, but most importantly I feel like my mission in life is to help people to think differently, and that's what my channel does. So this video helps you to maybe think about your career in a different way, not maybe you never thought about freelancing, and maybe if you think a little bit differently about your life and what you like to do in your career, maybe freelancing is something that is meant for you or is right for you. With that being said, my second to last tip that I want to share, or something that I learned, is to really understand your value and take time to get better at your craft. I definitely spend a lot of time, almost weekly, I try to read some article about how to improve my writing, taking different courses, just going back and rereading my articles and seeing where my editor made corrections, if they made corrections, going back and saying like, oh, I could have rewritten that headline, or I would have made this part shorter. Really and truly, it's important to dedicate yourself to your craft. And again, that goes back to doing something you love, because when you're not, a clog in a machine, when you're kind of this individual offering a service, you have to be good at what you do, because no one's going to want to work with you if you're not good, or at least has some potential, or at least trying to improve. If you're just kind of a run-of-the-mill person, then the chances of someone hiring you, in all honesty, can decrease, because people want to hire people that can solve problems, that can get the job done, that can add value to whatever it is that they're doing. So know your value, improve on your craft, and then offer that craft to the world. One of the biggest lessons that I learned, still learning in all honesty, is understanding how to manage your money. And honestly, every month, right now, and this definitely can change in the future, but every month, like, I have to manage my money a little bit differently, because my income changes almost every month. I have some clients that are consistent, and I can guarantee like a set number of work or projects or income from those clients, and sometimes it's not. And so I've really become I've learned to kind of create my own system of management. So if you kind of feel like when you had your 9 to 5, or you had some type of work, and you manage your budget or your money a certain way, that might not work for you, or you might have to adjust that when you move into freelancing. So wherever you are right now, whether you have just started freelancing, whether you're working full-time and have some side hustles, wherever it is, really understand how your money comes in and how it goes out. You can try budgeting, you can use different apps, you can use paper and pen. Like, I have a notebook where I keep track of my expenses and the income, and always really understand the money that's coming in just as much as it's going out, because sometimes if you come from a 9 to 5 employer, you're used to like the 1st, the 15th, or whatever, kind of always having money in your account. And with freelancing, a lot of the times you will get money after you invoice. So you have to make sure that once you finish a project, you send that invoice. Sometimes they will send them on time, sometimes you have to send reminders, but you really have to be on top of your money. In addition, you have to be on top of your taxes, which is a really big mistake that I made this past year, because I didn't think that, I was just starting off. Half of the year I was still working as a teacher, so I kind of was like not making all the money that I could have made if I was doing it full time. And then halfway during the year I started freelancing full time, and I was like, oh, it's fine, like I'll just write off the taxes, and I'm sure I'm not making that much, but I was wrong, and I ended up having to pay a good amount of taxes at the end of the year, even with deductions. So really and truly, can't stress this enough. Learn how to manage your money, and learn how to start putting away a percentage of taxes for taxes. The next really important thing, and I kind of mentioned this before when it comes to freelancing, is you have really 2 options. One, to do what you love, because when whatever profession you decide to do, you're going to be doing it a lot. So I chose writing. I'm constantly writing. I definitely make sure that I have breaks in between writing, and I have days where I don't write at all, but I'm writing all the time. That is what I do. Whether it is an article, a blog post, a video script, whatever, I'm always writing something, but luckily I love it. So I don't get burned out because one, I love it, and two, I've learned how to balance it. The other option is to do something that's simple. So maybe you're kind of not really passionate about anything work related, which is completely fine. And maybe you want, maybe you don't want to work for a boss anymore, maybe you want to work for yourself. So I would choose a freelance career that is simple. So if it's simple enough for you to do, maybe you don't have to think a lot about it. Maybe it's just something that you're talented, that you're naturally good at. Do that versus trying to force yourself to do something that maybe sounds appealing, or so-and-so had success with it, so you want to try it out. When it comes to choosing a freelance career, a field to go into, I would choose either something that you absolutely love and you can do it every single day or almost every single day, or something that is so simple that it doesn't require too much of your creative energy, or it's not something that you're going to get sick of right away, and that will definitely help you go further in your career. And my last piece of advice is to enjoy the journey. Freelance writing is definitely a roller coaster ride. I don't care what anybody says. If someone tells you that freelance writing is, or just freelancing in general, is just the simple act, and it's super easy and there's nothing to it, they are lying to you. I can almost guarantee. I'm not saying that freelancing has to be difficult and hard all the time, but it is a journey, and sometimes a very emotional journey, and so just really appreciate it. Anytime, even if you sent an email asking to work with a client and they said maybe not now but in the future, great. Keep in contact with them, follow up. Maybe someone reposts something that you shared on your social media. Maybe someone referred you to someone else. Really focus on the positive and enjoy what you do. Remind yourself that if you have stepped into the realm of freelancing full time, remember that even on your hardest days, you are doing what you love. And not a lot of people can say that. There's so many people, and I've met them and I've talked to many of them, who are just miserable with their job and are unhappy. And so even if you're maybe tired, maybe if you're struggling to find consistent clients, whatever it is okay. It is a storm that will pass, but remember, if you can, dance in the rain and enjoy the process. So thanks for watching my video. As I had mentioned before, I've been freelance writing for a year now. I write different topics. I write travel pieces that focuses on culture and experiences, as well as travel news articles. I also write articles and blog posts that uplift voices of marginalized communities, is particularly and especially Black women. I also really enjoy writing about music as well as personal finance. So if you want to know more about the things that I write about, or if you want to see some of my published work, you can click the link in my description and check out some of the work that I have done. I'm always looking to collaborate with other people on different articles and different stories. If you need a content writer or a journalist, let me know. I would be happy to work with you. And last but not least, if you listen to this whole video and you're starting to think about freelancing, or if you're somewhere in that spectrum of the freelance journey, let me know. How's it going for you? What is your career? What are your hopes and dreams? What are your goals? And if there's any other questions that you have about freelancing, and particularly freelance writing, let me know in the comments. Or just any questions about kind of creating a career that you love and that you like, let me know in the comments. Ciao for now.